a few days, weeks ago to Hungary. When did you come here? A month ago? Okay, roughly a month ago. So you know a few things already. Who is studying in Budapest? So you know the city a little bit already as well, but most of the group, you are new here.
Debrecen.
Okay, so my name is Anna, and then let's go outside before you get too warm in your coat. Where they do what? Let's wait a second so we don't get lost in the other group. You can go to the left from here, okay? Quick question until the wait for the green light. Who speaks Hungarian from the group? Not so far. I know for a fact that there are at least 2 Hungarians here. Okay. So who speaks Hungarian? Little bit? Okay, very good. And who wants to learn Hungarian? Who intends to learn Hungarian? Pretty much everybody. Okay, great. So, how much do you know about Hungarian history? Do you have any idea roughly how old Hungary is? Very old. That's a pretty good answer. Yes. Okay, it's a bit more than 1,000 years old. It was founded sometimes in the 9th century. We picked the year 896 for the foundation, so we have something to celebrate. And Hungary was 1,000 years old in 1896. That's important around here because if you look around, the majority of these buildings, in fact, this nice big road, the big ring road, was all built for that occasion, for the 1,000th birthday of Hungary. And it's a wonderful country in a wonderful location, beautiful river, great soil, nice climate. Still at the end of October, it's pretty nice weather, right? But it has problems also because it's in the center. So anybody wanted to go anywhere, they always went through us. For example, when the Ottoman Empire wanted to occupy Europe, then they got about this far, and that's what your hotel building is commemorating with this nice little mosaic. But there is also one inside just above the entrance when we are coming back. Take a look at that also. This is commemorating one of the many castles and its defenders. Sondi, this street was named after him. That's why it's about him. Okay, but we also had Genghis Khan from Mongolia raiding through the country a little bit before the Ottomans, and we also had the Soviet Union occupying the country in the 20th century. So we had a pretty rough history, but I say I am lucky as a tour guide because at least I have a lot of stories to tell, right? So I have a lot to pick from. Also, the ones who occupied us for the longest time were the Habsburgs from Austria. When the Hungarians arrived here, they came from Asia and they were pagan people. And they wanted to settle down and be a legitimate kingdom in Europe. So they made alliance with the Pope of Rome and turned Christian. It was Stephen I, or Saint Stephen, who Christianized this country. And then later, most of the leaders of Hungary said that we are Christians, although it was always a very multicultural and multi-religious country. For example, we had some of the highest percentage of Jewish population here also before the Second World War. We've had a lot of Protestants since the Ottoman times. In the Ottoman times, they were quite tolerant towards different religions, and still they usually try to preserve this Christianity. This is what the Habsburgs used to say. They are liberating us from the Ottoman Empire and bringing us back to Christianity, but they stayed here for 200 years and occupied us in the name of that. We had a lot of freedom fights against them, but eventually we made up. We made peace in the middle of the 19th century, 1867, and we made peace with the Emperor Franz Joseph. So a lot of things are called Franz and Joseph in Budapest because of this. Franz Town, Joseph Town. We had the Franz Joseph Bridge, but that's now called Liberty Bridge. The Soviets renamed it because they didn't like royals, but they also came here to liberate us. Um, and his beautiful wife Sissy or Elizabeth was also a lot of things named after. We have Elizabeth Town, Elizabeth Bridge, that's still Elizabeth Bridge, even the Soviets didn't dare to rename her bridge, it was that popular, really. And well, a lot of other things, I will also show you a few of these during this walk, okay? So just keep in mind that most of the things and the golden age, that's the second part of the 19th century, so that's what we will see mostly now also. Let's cross the road here.
Ma'am, it was Arpad, right? Arpad who won the freedom
Which freedom?
for the Hungary.
No, Arpad led the Hungarians here to the Carpathian Basin from
Right.
Asia.
Ah,
And then there were a lot of freedom struggles,
right.
different ones.
Yeah, Huns and Germans.
Huns, not really. The Huns we consider as our ancestors.
Right, right. Yeah,
Some
yeah.
say that's why
True.
they are called Hungarian.
Yeah. I
But
get
that's
it.
probably not true though.
Right.
That's just a later explanation that people made up. Okay, careful here with the crazy traffic and the cars parking strangely. Look at the facade. They're beautiful, but they're falling apart, right? Many of these buildings.
The building, is it from Soviet occupation or?
Many reasons. Well, there you can see bullet holes. You see on the corner,
Yeah,
all
the
those
bullet holes.
Those might be from two times, either from the siege of Budapest at the end of Second World War, 1944-45, or we had an uprising in 1956 against the Soviets.
Right.
Then there were fights in this area as well.
Is that the name of October mean something?
Yes, eight shaped square, yeah, an 8-point square. It's one of the biggest intersections of the city. We kind of wanted to be the Paris of the East. So we copied the street structure of Paris with the ring roads and the avenues. And this is the crossing of the biggest ring road and the biggest avenue.
So Paris is older than Hungary.
Paris is older than Budapest. Budapest is a very new city in
Right.
Europe.
Right.
It was only really founded in 1873. And most of the other European capitals are hundreds of years before that.
Oh.
Buda is old, the other side,
Right.
but this side is
Pest.
much newer. Yes, exactly. And you pronounce it really well.
Oh yeah.
It's good that you don't call it pest.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to see where we can stop for a moment. Be careful because sadly the streets are not the cleanest around here. Oh, and the stroller is coming. Please leave a little place. Or they are not coming with us? Okay, great. So, just a quick stop here on the corner of the Nagymező Street, which we will take for a short time. Nagymező means a great field. And that indicates that for a very long time, this area was actually an agricultural area. The city only spread out here in the third of the 19th century. So this is fairly new. Why some buildings look good is that on one hand they were taken care of. A lot of damage was done in the Second World War, and then later in communism, all these fancy buildings were considered too bourgeois. So they didn't take care of them. Sometimes they even removed some of the decoration. And some of them were bought by big companies, either real estate investors or, for example, the great Hungarian tech company Prezi. Have you heard about them? They are really quite big worldwide, and this is their headquarters in this building. But many cases, when it's a residential building, in Hungary, typically people own the flat they live in. These buildings consist of dozens of flats, so it means they have dozens of owners, and they should all work together and save up money together to renovate the building properly. That's not always happening very easily, so that's why some buildings still look like that. And the other reason that these buildings look so old is that this is a very new capital. You know, Buda is the old medieval capital of Hungary, and Pest is a very new city that was only attached to it in 1873 after the compromise with the Habsburgs, and the Habsburg Empire became Austro-Hungarian Empire, and it had two capitals, and we want it to be at least as nice as Vienna, the Habsburg capital. I think we did a pretty good job with that. But the thing was that we looked around and London is so nice and old, Paris is so nice and old, Rome especially is so nice and old. So we wanted to do something like that. We copied all these cities in a bit newer style, neoclassic, neo-renaissance, neo-romantic, neo-gothic, and so on. So this is all a newer version of the old architectural styles of Europe. They may look older than they really are, these buildings, but then in the turn of the 19th and 20th century, new styles came as well. Art Nouveau was pretty big in Budapest, for example. So you can see moderner buildings, not contemporary, but modern 100 years ago. Okay? So keep an eye on these nice facades, but also please look down time to time because these seats are not very clean. So don't step into anything. Oh, that's the new cafe. A lot of places closed because of COVID,
COVID, yeah.
but there are some new ones also. But I have to bring my daughter here. She loves unicorns.
Wow.
In fact, she usually says she's a unicorn or a mermaid.
How old are you?
5.
Oh, that's a unicorn age.
Yes. Like very good cake. And like all of the hamburgers and stuff are on this one too. So I think the hamburgers are either red or pink anything. Wow, yeah. There for example, I love how they can do that to a building.
So, do they renovate these buildings? Like,
Yes, eventually that would be the goal, but it's not always happening very easily.
right?
It's a lot of money. Yes. Especially recently, it's a one and a global thing that like the material prices went up, metal, wood, and all of that. And construction was the only part of the economy that really worked, that kept Hungarian economy going in the past 1.5 years. And people who are good at their job in construction, they became very expensive. There's a huge demand for them. That was here also. This is the Bajcsi Avenue, named after an anti-fascist from the 1930s, and it's leading from the city center to the Western Railway Station, and then out from the city towards Bác. So it continues in the Bác street.